Velvet Lies, the love scandal Menglong was forced to forget. Subscribe for more unforgettable K-drama twists. The world thought the silence was his strength. But silence was only his punishment. Behind the velvet curtains and the perfect smiles, Menglong once loved a woman he was never meant to touch. Her name was Lien, the kind of actress whose eyes could pull the moon into daylight. They met beneath the set lights of a drama that spoke of forbidden love. How cruel the irony that the script they acted would one day become their truth. She was supposed to fall for his character. He was supposed to pretend. But when his trembling fingers brushed hers on the first take, something inside both of them forgot where fiction ended. Their love began in whispers, stolen rehearsals, coded glances, conversations disguised as script readings, laughter that hid confessions the microphones weren't meant to hear. Every night after filming, the city would sleep, but their hearts never did. They'd walk through narrow streets in masks and shadows, hands barely touching, afraid that even the moon might betray them. In those nights, he told her, "Even if the cameras stop, I'll keep acting. Only this time, it'll be for you." And she smiled, a tear shimmering like a secret diamond. Then, let's never let them call it pretend again. But in their world, love was never written for freedom. It was written for control. The company owned their smiles. The scripts owned their tears. And somewhere, in a cold office lit by LED truth, a producer found their secret written between takes. In the way they looked too long, too softly, too real. It began with whispers. "They're too close." Then rumors. "He's risking everything." Then threats. "End it or you both vanish." They tried to fight it quietly, meeting in empty studios, hiding their names behind fake contact IDs, passing notes in scripts disguised as corrections. But love has a scent that even silence cannot hide. And one night, after the final scene of the drama, a single photo leaked. A picture of Lien asleep on Menglong's shoulder, her script fallen open to a line that read, "Love me, even if they erase us." The internet burned before dawn. By morning, the scandal had a name, the Velvet Affair. Fans cried betrayal. The press called it hypocrisy. The agency called it damage control. But he called it love. They dragged him into a white room with black contracts. He sat between two executives who smiled without souls. "Sign this," they said, "and we'll bury the story. We'll rewrite the world." He looked down and saw her name written in the clause of denial. If he signed, she would be erased from every reel, her role replaced, her future rewritten. If he refused, she would be blacklisted forever. Love sometimes is the cruelest contract of all. He picked up the pen. His hand trembled, not from fear, but from memory. She once told him, "If you ever have to lie to save me, make it the most beautiful lie the world has ever seen." And so he did. He signed. He smiled for the cameras that night and told the world, "She's only a friend." It was never real. The lie was velvet, soft, perfect, seamless. The truth, however, bled through the seams. Lien disappeared soon after. No goodbyes. No closure. Just silence. Some say she left for Europe. Some say she changed her name. But Menglong knew she never left a story, only the world's version of it. For months, he kept acting. For months, he smiled through every take. But when the director shouted cut, he always looked at the empty chair beside him, the one where she used to sit and whisper lines only he could hear. Sometimes, late at night, fans would notice something strange. During interviews, when her name was accidentally mentioned, his hand would twitch, as if reaching for something invisible, and his eyes, always calm, always rehearsed, would tremble for a heartbeat. That heartbeat was the ghost of her love. Rumors of a hidden song began to spread, a melody he wrote but never released. It was said to be called Velvet Lies. No lyrics, just piano, slow, haunting, endless. People who heard it said they felt like drowning in memory, as if every note was an echo of a goodbye that refused to fade. One night during a live fan event, a young girl shouted from the crowd, Will you ever love again? He smiled, that same trained, gentle smile, and said, Love doesn't end. It just changes its name. The audience cheered, but backstage, when the lights dimmed, he pressed his hand against the piano's lid and whispered, Lien, can you hear me? The silence replied in rhythm. Years passed. He won awards, starred in new dramas. Every success was wrapped in another layer of scripted perfection. But every role, every glance, every tear was her, hidden in the rhythm of his lines, woven in the pauses that the world mistook for mastery. Once, during a fan meet in Seoul, a woman wearing sunglasses slipped him an old film roll. No name, no note, just a whisper, play it alone. That night he did. The footage was grainy, a behind-the-scenes reel from their first drama. There they were, laughing between takes, chasing each other across the set, falling into each other's arms when the director yelled cut. But halfway through, the footage flickered, and a hidden message appeared on the frame. Her handwriting, delicate but trembling. If they ever make you forget me, remember what silence sounds like when it's mine. He watched it again, and again, until dawn broke and the tape melted under the projector's heat. That was the last time he saw her face. Yet every story he touched after that carried her shadow. Every role, a confession disguised as art. Every tear, a note from a song he could never finish. And sometimes when he walked through film sets at night, he swore he could still smell her perfume, the faint scent of jasmine and camera light. The world called him disciplined. They called him graceful, mysterious, untouchable. But only he knew the truth. He wasn't untouchable, he was unhealed. Then came the night of the Silver Screen Awards. He was nominated for Best Actor. When they called his name, the crowd erupted. He walked onto the stage, bowing as flashlights blinded his eyes. But halfway through his speech, his voice cracked. He looked straight into the lens, the same lens that once betrayed them, and said softly, I once learned that lies can protect love. But truth resurrects it. For a split second, the world went still. The host smiled awkwardly. The audience clapped uncertainly. But somewhere, far from the noise, a woman in a quiet apartment watched through a dim laptop screen. Her fingers trembled as she pressed rewind, again and again, on the moment he said those words. And though no one else heard it, she whispered back, Then our truth still breathes. That night, after the ceremony, Menglong vanished from the public eye. No posts, no sightings, no words, only silence, the same silence that once began it all. But a month later, a music file leaked online. Title, Velvet Lies Final Version. It had lyrics this time. Soft, poetic, breaking every rule of corporate censorship. They said forget, but my silence kept your name. They said lie, but my heart still called you flame. If love must hide, then let it hide inside the stars. For even erased, you are still what my soul remembers. The world fell into chaos. The agencies denied involvement. But fans knew this wasn't fiction anymore. And maybe, just maybe, that was the point. Some stories aren't written for endings. They're written for remembrance. And though the contracts erased her, and the world forced him to forget, love, that reckless, impossible, velvet thing, remembered. For Yu Menglong, silence wasn't defeat. It was a promise. A vow whispered between two souls who once dared to love. In a world that only understood lies. And every time that haunting melody plays, somewhere between dream and memory, Lien still turns, smiling beneath the moonlight, whispering, We were never fiction, just forgotten truth. The story began beneath the light, a light too bright to tell truth from illusion. They were just two actors, two souls rehearsing lines that were never meant to become real. But somewhere between action and cut, something shifted. Their hearts began to speak a language that no script could contain. On set, Yu Menglong's gaze lingered longer than the camera allowed. Lien felt it, that quiet electricity, the kind that hums beneath the skin, a secret heartbeat that no director could edit out. Their drama was titled When the Night Falls. And indeed, it did every night, after the crew left and the city forgot to breathe. They'd meet under the soft hum of flickering lights, practicing lines they already knew by heart, yet finding new meanings in every word. He'd say, "Love me like the world isn't watching." She'd whisper back, "Then let's live in the shadows." Their hands brushed as they shared the same script. Ink smudged where their fingers met. Every touch left a mark. Every look became a vow. And for a while they believed the lie, that love could hide behind performance. But love, as cruel as it is beautiful, cannot be scripted forever. The first rumor was small, a spark in a quiet storm. An assistant saw them leaving the studio too late, too close, too quiet. Then came the whispers. They're together. Then came the photos. Blurry, stolen, damning. And by the time the morning came, their secret had turned into the world's obsession. The agency acted fast. They summoned him into a white, windowless room. 3 men in black suits, a single silver contract. "End it," one said. "Deny it," said another. "Forget her," said the last. He laughed softly, bitterly, as if forgetting were that easy. They slid a document across the table. "Sign, and we'll bury the story. Refuse, and we'll bury you." His name gleamed beside hers. 2 signatures that once meant love, now reduced to collateral. He closed his eyes and remembered her voice. The night she said, "If you must lie to protect me, make it sound like love." So he did. He signed. He smiled. And with one elegant flourish of ink, he erased them both. The next morning, the world saw Menglong, calm, graceful, untouchable. He stood before the press, flashlights burning his eyes. They asked, "Did you love her?" He answered, "No. We were only friends." Each word cut deeper than a blade. Every syllable bled the truth he couldn't say. But the show had to go on. It always did. Behind the curtain, Lien watched. Her makeup flawless, her heart in ruins. Tears slipped down her cheek, silent as secrets. And when the conference ended, she walked away. From the cameras, from the city, from him. No goodbye. Just silence. That was her final act. Weeks turned to months. He filmed new dramas, posed for magazines, smiled for interviews as if the world hadn't stolen his voice. But each night, when the lights went out, he'd return to the same piano, the one they played together between shoots. He called the melody Velvet Lies, a song too fragile for lyrics, too heavy for truth. Every note carried her laughter, every chord, her absence. The world heard the melody once, accidentally. A clip leaked online. Fans said it sounded like heartbreak in slow motion. But he never spoke of it. He didn't need to. The music was confession enough. Then came the gala, a grand celebration of his latest success. Diamonds, champagne, silk. Everyone wanted a photo, a smile, a soundbite. But when he stepped onto the red carpet, something in his eyes had changed. Still soft, still calm, but hollowed, like a flame in its final hour. In the distance, a flash of movement. A woman in a black gown, her face half-veiled. For a heartbeat, he thought it was her. Lien. The ghost that never left. He turned, but she vanished into the crowd. Only a faint scent of jasmine lingered, her perfume. The moment felt like a dream that had come back to haunt him. He almost smiled. Even ghosts have good timing. That night, he returned to the old set, abandoned now, dust reclaiming its throne. The same walls that once echoed their laughter, now whispered only silence. He found her name carved faintly into the back of a wooden chair. Lien. The letters almost erased, yet still refusing to disappear. He sat, placed his hand over the engraving, and whispered, "I kept the lie, just like you asked." His voice broke. But the lie kept me too. He played the piano again, fingers trembling as if afraid to disturb the ghosts. The melody swelled, filling the empty set with the sound of what once was. And as the final note faded, he heard something, a soft echo, a whisper carried by memory itself. "Don't forget the silence," it said. It was her voice. Or maybe just his heart remembering how she used to sound. He didn't look up. He just smiled, the kind of smile that only heartbreak can perfect. The next day, fans noticed something strange. During a live broadcast, someone asked, "If you could change one thing in your past, what would it be?" He paused, too long, too heavy. Then he answered, "I would have kissed her in daylight." The host laughed, the audience clapped, but true fans knew that wasn't just an answer. It was a confession disguised as charm. And somewhere far away, in a quiet apartment overlooking the Han River, a woman in a white dress watched the clip. Her hand brushed against a silver ring she once swore she'd never wear again. She smiled through her tears and whispered, "So would I." Now, years later, when people speak of Yu Menglong's most mysterious era, they call it the Velvet Season. The time of silence, the time of rumors, the time when every smile hit a wound. But those who listened closely, who played his music alone in the dark, heard the truth. For behind every polished interview, behind every carefully chosen word, lived a melody, the ghost of a love that refused to fade. And though the world forced him to forget, though contracts silenced their names, somewhere between the lines of velvet lies, their story still breathes. Two hearts forever rehearsing the same unfinished scene, waiting for the day someone dares to say, "This wasn't scandal. This was love."